Hello, welcome to the Design Tales and Knitting Podcast. Hi, I'm Ambah and I'm a knitting designer, and this podcast is where I share design tales, the process behind my designs, the inspiration, construction overview, tips and tricks, and styling advice. I usually make an episode when I have a fresh design out to share and talk a bit about that design. And sometimes I'll also talk about older designs and other things as well. You're welcome to post in the comments or send me a message if there's something you'd like me to cover specifically in these episodes, or if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll just generally come around once a month with a new design to share and some insights. Today's episode, I have a new design, which is the Cowl, and also a knit along, which just started yesterday. So you are invited to join the knit along. I'll tell you a bit more about that. So the Cowl is a looped cowl, worked flat with two size options. So this one is perfect for just wearing around the neck, and then this option can be looped twice or singly, worn as an accessory like this. Just cute and cozy. And yeah, it's a fun knit. It's worked flat, so the cowl is cast on along an edge with a provisional cast on. Then live stitches are worked for the desired length of the project, and then those stitches are joined back with the provisionally cast on stitches. So there's two sets of live stitches at the end with a 3 needle bind off, which is, that I could feel it before, here on the wrong side row, forming a loop. Also, it makes a lovely scarf. If you don't want a looped cowl version, you could cast on normally without the provisional cast on, and then once it gets to the length that you like, bind off normally. So there's a few options there. It's knit in DK weight yarn and is really fantastic for stash busting. So I designed them so that there's approximately 1 full skein of DK weight yarn in the small loop and 2 full skeins in the larger loop, in addition to all the little spots that you'll work in there. The little spots are perfect for just little bits left in your stash from projects past, and perhaps even steal a bit from a future project. You don't need much at all for the dots. Or you can even work all the dots in one colour and have a base colour. You could use a gradient yarn for the base colour behind and have the dots popping in a single colour. There's so many possibilities. But it can be a beautiful memorial project. Yeah, a couple of our testers made beautiful memory cowls using quite specifically yarn from previous projects that were meaningful to them. And obviously, if they've already knit with them and loved them in the past, they're colours that they already like or are drawn to. So there's certainly that appeal, which is the fun of stash busting, isn't it? That you're using yarn that you've already loved and getting to use those little treasured bits again for something special and new. And it's quite moorish, potato chip knitting they call it. Once you've knit some dots, then you pick some colours for a few more dots, and then you just want to knit those dots and knit some more dots and go quite dotty in the process. But yeah, it's very much something that you want to keep knitting more dots on. And yeah, I found it flew off my needles actually. It's a little bit of a juggle being an intarsia project. So you've got several colours on the project per row, which is a little bit to juggle. I kept mine on a tray and just made it a TV knitting project on my lap, so I wasn't trying to take it places. So I could keep things pretty organised while knitting mine. And if you haven't knit intarsia before, hopefully I could tempt you into this fabulous technique with this project. I do have a tutorial here on my YouTube channel and also on my website, and it includes a swatch, a free swatch that goes with the tutorial, so you can go and download that and practice intarsia before you decide to dive into a project like this, or you can watch the tutorial and use the techniques taught in the tutorial to knit this project, go straight into it. Either way, intarsia is a fabulous knitting technique. It's a bit of a juggle, that would be the trickiest part about it, but I think it's worth at least trying. It just gives you such different results to other types of colour work. It's a really fun thing to experiment with and play. I've had polka dots on my mind for a while, wanting to incorporate them into a design project, and I just couldn't quite get my head around exactly what that would be. I'd had a few ideas, and one of them evolved into the Bliss Bloss shawl, which is also intarsia, but you can see the dots there. Certainly part of that inspiration for the dot cowl. So it was something that was kind of fermenting in my mind for over a year. I was just trying to figure out what my polka dot project would be or design. And then the inspiration came in a real flash in December last year. I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and an image popped up from someone else's grid, which I'll share now. And you can see that image relates directly to the dots in the dot cowl. So the image with the background, the pink was a fluffy background, and then balls of yarn. The yarn was from an advent set that the person had been opening each day in December, and wound the balls and put them on the background with that beautiful random dotty effect. And the instant I saw that, my brain just went, I have to do that intarsia dots of a similar kind of vibe. And I loved the idea of the pink background as like a neutral background for the pops, and decided I'd buy myself some hedgehog fibres tweedy yarn because of the lovely neon little specks in that yarn too. I thought would be a really fun background for these bright pops of colour. And yeah, so I ordered that in a kind of pink, very muted pink, which is a lovely neutral kind of colour for the background. And while I was waiting for that to come, because I was quite set on the idea of the pink, I had some other, it was actually also happened to be hedgehog fibres yarn that I had in my stash. And this is a fingering weight, the green background yarn. I had just finished using it for another project and decided to make a small version holding it double. So this is fingering weight held double for a DK equivalent. And then the spots are similar. Most of them are DK weight yarn, and then some of them, it's a bit hard to see, this one actually is a fingering weight yarn held double. So it was a good opportunity to dive into the stash and have lots of fun with stash colours and playing. So I picked out a colour theme for each version and lay all the yarn out on a tray as I was knitting it. I'll pop up an image of that now too. I took a photo of one of them as I was knitting them. You can see just a pile of stash balls of yarn. And each time it came to pick new colours for new dots, I just kind of picked them as I went along, and it was really quite fun to do it that way, just not have it completely set out. Wait until mood struck at the time of knitting. I mean, I was aiming for a sort of balance as well, so neons spread out a bit, you know, if you keeping some muted colours in there to tone it down a little bit and allow the other colours to pop. And the inspiration for this version came from a bunch of flowers I'd picked from my garden and put in a vase, and was admiring and thought, oh yeah, that real orange pop was part of it that inspired me to rummage around and gather this palette of colours for my green version. And then, yeah, slightly different palette for this version. Much more colourful kind of version, which was a lot of fun to make. So the long cowl, I think, is lovely just worn as a bigger loop, but it can also be looped twice for a nice cozy neck warming piece. And then also it can be worn looped twice and used as a bit of a hood as well. So you can bring it up if it's chilly outside and then bring it back down. Lots of ways that you can make the most of this. And then the single loop is really just the single loop. One of the test knitters opted to make it a repeat shorter, so it would be a bit tighter around their neck, or you can add length or keep it to the original length. It's really up to you. It's so easy to adjust the length of this project. So yeah, that's the cowl. I hope you have as fun knitting this as I did, and our testers, they thoroughly enjoyed it. Some immediately cast on for a second after they'd finished, which is always fun to see. And their colour schemes, if you want to look at their projects, you can see in the Ravelry, connected to the Ravelry pattern page, their projects which have lots of different inspiration. There's some that are much more muted than mine, and some really bright colour versions, and everything in between. And you probably find a few if you look up the hashtag #cowl, although the hashtags don't work quite as well these days, but you can still find some projects connected to them. And speaking of hashtags, there's hashtag Mini-Munch KAL 2026, which is, I'm not sure how many year I have run a Mini-Munch KAL. I may have missed a year somewhere in there, but most years around this time of the year, I like to have a Mini-Munch KAL. And that's a knit along where it's focusing on using mini skeins in the stash, whether it be one mini skein, a mini skein set of 5, 10, 12, 20, 24, whatever it is, or even just a mini skein as in a bit of a leftover ball from a project. That counts. The rules are pretty relaxed for this cowl. It's essentially knit any one of my patterns and make it fit the Mini-Munch theme by incorporating a mini skein or mini ball into it. That's it. It's also WIPs are welcome. So people who have something on the needles, maybe they started a festive design in December and haven't finished it, they're welcome to bring those along and knit those too, and hopefully finish them. The idea is to get a few WIPs off the needles and munch a few mini skeins and clear the decks for the next project. So the Mini-Munch KAL runs from now. We started officially yesterday, the 17th of March, and will run through April, May to May 31st. So it's a good couple of months there, 2.5 months to start a fresh project, perhaps start a cowl, or pull out one of those WIPs or a few of those WIPs that you've been meaning to get to and get those off the needles. Most of the activity is in my Ravelry group. They're already enthusiastic knitters sharing their projects in the Mini-Munch KAL thread. And also with the hashtag that I just mentioned, hashtag Mini-Munch KAL 2026, be able to find each other and each other's projects on the social media accounts there. Often I have a fresh pattern for this KAL, and I will this year. However, it's going to be about a month before that's published, which will still give plenty of time to knit it up in over the end of April and May portion of the KAL. So I'll be back soon. That's, I think, my next pattern in the published list. So my next Design Tales podcast will be about that pattern. I won't share anything now. I'll save it to then. It can be a surprise. But that pattern is designed to use either 5 or 10 mini skeins, or it's pretty flexible. You could use 6 or 12 or more or less. So that's definitely a Mini-Munch pattern, and I look forward to sharing that one with you. And all of your projects. I hope you come along, come and finish something off, maybe be inspired to cast something on, munch those minis, and have some fun along the way. So yeah, that's the Dot Dot KAL and the Mini-Munch KAL, and that's most of our news. I don't usually share designs in progress here, or DIPs, design in progress, like WIP. But I thought I might bring one along today. It's months out from being published because it's a garment pattern, but I thought some of you might be interested in seeing it anyway, because I will be looking for some testers over the next couple of weeks for this design. So perhaps I can tempt you to join my tester list and knit this design as well. I have a dedicated email list for test knitters, and I'll post a link below in the show notes so you can find it easily. And that is, you sign up to a newsletter list where I only send emails to that list if it's a test call, and that's usually about once a month. Sometimes it can be a couple of times a month, but generally it's not very often. So I'll send out a test call with information about the test, and if it's something that you're interested in, then you can go and get the full details and sign up if you like. So it varies from scarves, shawls, everything, garments. And if you're not interested, that's fine. You can just ignore that email and wait until the next call. It's very relaxed, just whatever you want to participate in, no pressure. I particularly find with garments though, because I'm looking for at least a couple of testers for each size, ideally. It's good to have a good pool of testers to send that email out to. So if you're interested in testing or think you might be, sign up to the list. So the design I'm working on, I'm wearing one version of it at the moment. It's a lightweight summer garment version. It's cropped. It's a little bit hard to see. And it's a variation of another design I published a couple of years ago called Twist Cardigan, which I'll just post a little image now so you can see that. Twist Cardigan and this garment, which I'm calling Holy Moley at the moment. They're both, I call them raglans with a twist. So it's a similar increase to a top-down raglan garment. However, it's twisted so that with a normal raglan, it's a bit hard to see, you'd have the increases raglan here and on the back, whereas with this garment, the increases occur at this point. Probably see it a bit more clearly here. Creating a different shaping and a chevron type of effect. Let's see if you can see it a bit better in the back of my garment. It's a bit awkward, sorry. There will be pictures for the test so you'll be able to have a better look at it. So the twist on the raglan shaping creates this different effect where it's a chevron kind of patterning, which is a bit hard to see there, which is a really nice detail. It does involve some different design elements to a top-down raglan style, in that then there are some short rows at the bottom to fill in the bottom part and at the sleeve. And then other than that, it's pretty straightforward. The short rows are not to be feared. They're explained in the pattern. My inspiration for this was to create a summer garment, which we're just coming out of summer now. And so wanted to use a linen yarn. This is a linen cotton yarn. And I was inspired to recreate the twist cardigan into a summer version and use an eyelet or a lace patterning emphasised by that chevron shaping to create something a bit more lightweight for warmer weather. And I am currently knitting a wool version, which it's 4-ply wool, so it's still pretty light, but will be cozier for the autumn weather. Beautiful autumn colour yarn here. And there's 2 length options. So there's the cropped length with cropped sleeves that I'm wearing now, and this will have full length sleeves and will be thigh length. So just that little bit long line version of the cardigan. So I'm really looking forward to getting this off the needles and on me, because our days are starting to get a bit cooler here. And currently the pattern is being worked on with the tech editor. So there'll be, I envisage, a week or 2 before we get it ready to go to testing. So if I've tempted you to consider joining into a test, either for this or in the future, sign up to the test newsletter list below and I'll send you an email when things are ready to go. And if not the Holy Moly cardigan, perhaps some of the other things that I have coming up this year as well might interest you. And speaking of newsletters, if you haven't subscribed to my general newsletter that's separate to the Test Knit one, I'll put a link to that below as well. New subscribers get a nice discount to use in my Ravelry and Etsy stores, and also a PDF which I call Shawl Love, and it's just a fun little overview of popular shawl shapes and how they're knit, how the shaping works, which might interest you if you're shawl curious or wanting to understand a bit more about the construction of shawls. That's a handy little PDF to refer to. Subscribers to my newsletter will receive that with the discount. And then also, what else do you get when you subscribe? Every Friday I have a Friday featured 50 pattern. So each Friday I dive into my pattern catalogue and choose a pattern from the last 13 years, over 250 designs from my catalogue, and feature it that week with a 50% automatic discount. So I feature it on a Friday. It's called the Friday featured pattern, but the discount does last until I change it to the next week's Friday featured pattern. So for those who are worried about snagging it on the Friday, there are a few days to snag it. But yeah, I call it the Friday featured 50, and that's just fun for me. I really enjoy it. I love going back through my catalogue and being re-inspired by old designs, also reappreciating them. So often I'm looking forward in the design process that I lose sight of things that I've already done, and it can be really nice to look back at some of those and have people, when I share it on social media, people comment about how they enjoyed knitting it, or also have memories around that design, which is also quite fun to see and share. So that's every Friday in my newsletter, my regular newsletter. And in addition, there'll be things like I'll share if I've published one of these YouTube podcasts, or if I've got other news to share, or a new pattern. So all my general studio news will be shared with you through that newsletter, with the inclusion of the Featured Friday segment as well. Usually it's once a week, the newsletter. So yeah, sign up to that, snag the discount, show love, and get news from my studio. Be the first to hear about patterns when they're released and anything else that I've got coming up, which is a bit this year. There's a few new things I'll be doing, including some teaching workshops, some events that I'm attending, and yeah, other opportunities. So I like sharing those in the newsletter as well. And occasionally other insights and tips and favourite things that I find. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. It's lovely to have you here. And please do comment if you have any segment requests, any patterns you'd like to see me deep dive on, or just any other comments or feedback. Love to hear from you. And otherwise, appreciate you being here, and I'll be back in a few weeks with that fresh design I was teasing before. I look forward to sharing that with you. And I hope that you enjoy the ... Cowl and perhaps join us for a Mini-Munch knit along. Until next time, happy knitting.